The deep hum of the Discovery's engines filled the bridge as Captain James stared at the holographic star map floating before him. His ship had been mapping this sector of space for the past 3 months, and honestly, he was getting tired of finding nothing but empty planets and dead rocks. The crew of 45 shared his feelings. Space exploration wasn't always as exciting as the recruitment videos made it seem. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Mark from his station at the sensor controls. The young officer's voice had an edge to it that made James turn around. Well, you should see this yourself." James walked over to Mark's station, his boots making soft sounds against the metal floor. The sensor display showed an odd pattern of signals coming from a planet in a nearby solar system. At first glance, it looked like typical space noise, but there was something familiar about it. "Run it through the pattern matching system," James ordered, leaning closer to the screen. "There's something about those signals." The computer worked for a few moments, and then a message flashed across the screen that made both men freeze. "Meitiji found 97% similarity to Earth radio patterns CIRCA 2150. That's impossible," Mark whispered. "We're 30,000 light-years from Earth. There shouldn't be any human signals out here." James straightened up, his mind racing. In all his 15 years of space exploration, he'd never encountered anything like this. They'd met alien civilizations before, but finding human signals this far out, it didn't make sense. "Plot a course to the source," he ordered, "and get Dr. Tom up here. I want our science officer's opinion on this." The Discovery changed direction, its massive engines pushing it through space toward the mysterious signals. The bridge crew worked in tense silence, all of them feeling that they were on the edge of something big. Dr. Tom arrived a few minutes later, his gray hair messy as usual. James showed him the sensor readings, and the scientist's eyes grew wide behind his glasses. "These patterns, they're definitely human in origin. But look at the variations. They've evolved differently than our current communication methods. It's like finding a language that split off from a common ancestor hundreds of years ago." "Could it be some kind of natural phenomenon mimicking our signals?" James asked. "The chances of that are basically zero," Dr. Tom replied, shaking his head. "This is artificial, and it was made by human technology. Different from ours, but definitely human." As they got closer to the source, more data began coming in. The signals were coming from a planet that showed signs of terraforming. Another human technology. There were artificial structures visible on the surface, and they could detect movement of vehicles in the planet's atmosphere. "Launch a probe," James ordered. "Let's get a closer look before we go in ourselves." The probe's data started streaming, and 20 minutes later, and the bridge crew gathered around the main screen in amazement. The images showed cities, not alien structures, but human cities. They were different from Earth's modern architecture, with their own unique style, but they were unmistakably built by human hands. "Look at their vehicles," Mark pointed out. "They're using some kind of energy system I've never seen before, but the basic designs, they're working from human principles." James felt a chill run down his spine. They were about to make the biggest discovery in human history. A lost colony of humanity, developing on its own path somewhere in the vast darkness of space. "Send a message," he ordered. "Standard first contact protocols, but add that we're humans from Earth. Let's see how they respond." The crew waited in tense silence as their message traveled through space. Minutes stretched like hours as they watched their communication displays. Then, suddenly, they got a response. The message was in English, though the accent was strange, and some of the words were used differently. It said, "Earth vessel, this is New Haven Control. We've been waiting for this day for 300 years. Welcome to the lost children of Earth." James looked around at his crew, seeing the same mix of excitement and disbelief on every face. This was just the beginning. They had no idea what they would learn from these long-lost cousins of humanity, or what changes this discovery would bring to both their civilizations. The captain took a deep breath and gave the order that would start this new chapter in human history. Prepare for orbital entry. Let's go meet our family. The Discovery entered New Haven's atmosphere under the guidance of local control. Through the bridge windows, the crew could see a city sprawling across a terraformed valley. The buildings had a distinctive style, tall structures that curved and twisted in ways that seemed to ignore gravity, their surfaces gleaming with a metal none of them recognized. Their technology is amazing, Dr. Tom said, studying the readings on his tablet. They're using energy systems we've never seen before. Look at those power signatures. They're off the charts. James watched as their ship was directed to a massive landing pad near what appeared to be the city center. A crowd had already gathered. Thousands of people, all human, all staring up at the ship from Earth. He could see their vehicles hovering nearby, using some kind of silent propulsion system that didn't match anything in Discovery's database. Everyone remember the protocols, James reminded his crew as they prepared to disembark. We're guests here, and these people have been developing their own way of life for 3 centuries. The landing was smooth, and as the ship's ramp lowered, James led a small team out into New Haven's air. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth's, making each step feel bouncy. A group of officials waited at the bottom of the ramp, led by a tall woman with short gray hair and an air of authority. "Welcome to New Haven," she said, stepping forward. "I'm Commander Ann, leader of the Colonial Council. We've been watching Earth's progress through our long-range sensors for decades, wondering when you'd finally reach us." James introduced himself and his team, noting the differences in how these people carried themselves. There was a kind of fluid grace to their movements, probably from generations living in lighter gravity. Their clothes were made of materials that seemed to shift colors slightly as they moved. "Your colony ship," James said. It must have been one of the early ones, before we had reliable faster-than-light travel. Anne nodded. "The Hope's Journey, launched in 2157, before the great breakthrough in FTL technology. We lost contact with Earth during a solar storm, and our systems were damaged. We found this planet and made it our home. Over time, we had to develop our own solutions to survive." She led them toward a nearby building, explaining as they walked. The colony had faced incredible challenges in its early years. With their original technology failing, they had been forced to innovate. They discovered new ways to manipulate energy fields, developed different approaches to space travel, and even found ways to adapt their own bodies to their new home. Inside the building, they entered a room filled with holograms showing the colony's history. But these weren't like Earth's holograms. They were solid, interactive, almost like physical objects made of light. Dr. Tom could barely contain his excitement as he studied them. "We've maintained our link to Earth's history," Anne explained, passing down stories of our origins. "But we knew we had to forge our own path. We couldn't just wait for rescue that might never come." "Your achievements are incredible," James said, watching a demonstration of their energy technology. "The way you've developed, it's different from Earth's path, but equally advanced, maybe even more advanced in some ways." Anne's expression grew serious. "That's why we need to talk. We've detected something out there, Captain. Something that's been watching both our civilizations. We think they mean us harm." She led them to another room, where a large display showed movement patterns of something massive at the edge of their star system. The readings were like nothing James had seen before, energy signatures that made New Haven's technology look primitive in comparison. "They arrived 3 days ago," Anne said quietly. "We've seen their kind before, watching us from a distance, but now they're getting closer, and their numbers are growing. That's why we're glad you're here. Earth and New Haven, we've both developed different strengths. Together, we might stand a chance against what's coming." James looked at the display, then at his crew, and finally at these long-lost cousins of Earth who had built their own civilization among the stars. Whatever was coming, humanity would face it together, 2 branches of the same tree, finally reunited. "Tell us everything you know about them," he said. It's time for humanity to stand united. The next few days on New Haven were filled with constant exchange of knowledge between the two human civilizations. Dr. Tom spent hours in the colony's research centers, his eyes growing wider with each new discovery. The way New Haven had developed their technology was completely different from Earth's path, but equally brilliant. "Look at this," he said to Captain James, holding up what looked like a small crystal. "They don't use traditional computer chips. They found a way to store data in crystalline structures that can process information 1,000 times faster than our best quantum computers. And it's all powered by something they call void energy." James watched as New Haven's engineers worked alongside his crew, sharing their knowledge. In the main hangar, Mark was examining one of their ships with Chief Engineer Lisa from New Haven. The colonial ships didn't use traditional engines. Instead, they bent space itself using their advanced energy technology. "We had to think differently," Lisa explained, her hands covered in mechanical grease as she showed them the ship's core. "When our original engines failed, we couldn't replicate them. So we studied the space around us and found new ways to travel. Your faster-than-light drives are amazing, but they use so much more energy than our fold systems." But it wasn't just technology they were sharing. In the evening, both crews gathered in New Haven's central garden, sharing stories and meals. The colonists had developed their own cuisine using local plants and animals, creating dishes that were both familiar and excitingly different to the Earth crew. "Our great-grandparents used to tell stories about Earth food," one of the colonists said, passing around a bowl of something that tasted like spicy mashed potatoes, but was bright purple. "They tried to keep some traditions alive, but over time, we had to adapt. These plains routes saved us during the early years when our hydroponic systems failed." Lieutenant Rose found herself fascinated by New Haven's defense systems. Instead of traditional shields and weapons, they had developed energy fields that could bend hostile fire away from their ships and cities. "It's like they're dancing with space itself," she told James. "They don't try to block attacks. They redirect them. I've never seen anything like it." But as the two groups grew closer, the threat looming at the edge of their system grew more concerning. The massive energy signatures were moving closer, and now both Earth and New Haven sensors could detect what looked like a fleet of enormous ships. Commander Ann called an emergency meeting in the colony's control center. The room's walls were alive with holographic displays showing the approaching fleet's movement. "They call themselves the Dominion," she explained. "We've intercepted some of their communications. They believe they're the only ones worthy of controlling space travel. Any civilization they find that reaches a certain level of technology, they eliminate." "How many ships?" James asked, studying the displays. "At least 30 capital ships," Anne replied. "Each one bigger than anything Earth or New Haven has ever built. They'd done this before, wiped out other species that were just reaching for the stars. But they've never encountered humans before, and they've certainly never faced two different human civilizations working together." Dr. Tom stepped forward, excitement showing through his concern. "What if we combine our technologies? Earth's traditional shields are strong, but they drain enormous power. New Haven's energy redirection systems are elegant, but might not handle the raw force of these weapons. But together..." The room burst into activity as engineers and scientists from both groups began working on plans. Earth's powerful but energy-hungry systems combined with New Haven's elegant solutions might create something entirely new. They had 5 days before the Dominion fleet arrived. 5 days to prepare a defense that might save both their civilizations. As James watched the humans from two different paths working together, he felt a surge of pride. This was what humanity did best: adapt, innovate, and overcome. The Dominion thought they were coming to eliminate another primitive species. Instead, they would face humanity at its finest, Earth and New Haven, standing together, ready to show the galaxy why humans were a force to be reckoned with. "Let's get to work," he said. "We've got a lot to do, and not much time to do it." Time was running out. The massive Dominion fleet grew closer each hour, their ships now visible even to basic telescopes. In New Haven's main shipyard, humans from both Earth and the colony worked nonstop, modifying their vessels with hybrid technology that had never been tried before. The Discovery's hull was opened up like a patient in surgery, its systems being enhanced with New Haven's crystal computers and energy redirectors. Mark wiped sweat from his forehead as he helped Lisa install the new hybrid shield system. "If this works," he said, "we'll have defensive capabilities beyond anything either of our worlds has seen before." Chief Engineer Lisa nodded, her hand steady as she connected delicate crystal pathways to the Earthship's power core. "And if it doesn't work, we'll probably blow ourselves up before the Dominion gets the chance." She smiled despite the grim joke. "But that's what humans do, right? We try the impossible, and somehow we make it work." In the colony's control center, James and Anne studied the latest data on the Dominion fleet. The alien ships were massive, each one nearly the size of a small moon. Their black hulls seemed to absorb light itself, making them look like moving holes in space. "They're so confident they don't even try to hide," Anne said, her voice tight with anger. They'd done this so many times before, wiping out younger civilizations, that they don't expect any real resistance. A junior officer rushed into the room, holding a data crystal. "Commander, Captain, we've decoded more of their communications." The young man's face was pale but excited. They don't know we're the same species. They think Earth and New Haven are two different alien civilizations that just happen to be in contact." James and Anne looked at each other, and slowly, matching smiles spread across their faces. "They don't know what they're dealing with," James said. "They have no idea that they're facing the unified human force." "Let's keep it that way," Anne replied. "Let them think we're two separate species until it's too late." In the weapons development lab, Dr. Tom worked with New Haven scientists to modify Earth's traditional energy weapons with the colony's void technology. The results were promising. In tests, the hybrid weapons were 3 times more powerful while using half the energy. "The void energy amplifies the traditional plasma stream," Dr. Tom explained to a group of officers. "But more importantly, it's completely different from anything the Dominion has encountered before. Their shields will be calibrated for known weapon types. This," he gestured at the modified weapons, "this is something entirely new." Lieutenant Rose coordinated with New Haven's defense forces, teaching them Earth's battle tactics while learning their unique approach to space combat. "Earth ships fight like boxers," she explained. "Direct, powerful, head-on. But your ships move like dancers, if we combine both styles." The Dominion fleet was now just 2 days away. Across New Haven, ships rose into orbit, both the sleek, curved vessels of the colony and the more angular Earth ships, all modified with their combined technology. The first test of their hybrid shields had been successful, though they wouldn't know how well they would hold up against the Dominion's weapons until the actual battle. In the Discovery's newly modified bridge, James looked at his crew. Their uniforms now bore patches showing both Earth's traditional insignia and New Haven's spiral symbol. "Remember," he said, "we're not just fighting for 2 human civilizations now. We're fighting for every young species out there that the Dominion wants to destroy. We're fighting for the right of all people to reach for the stars." The fleet took up defensive positions around New Haven. Earth's ships formed the front line, their powerful new weapons ready, while New Haven's more agile vessels waited to strike from unexpected angles. On every ship, humans from both worlds worked together, each bringing their own strengths to the coming battle. As the first massive Dominion ships appeared at the edge of the system, James sent one final message to the fleet. "They expect to find primitive aliens fighting among themselves. Let's show them what humanity can really do when we stand together." The first Dominion ship fired without warning, a beam of pure energy, bigger than anything the humans had ever seen, shot toward New Haven's orbital defenses. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see if their new hybrid shields would hold. The beam hit the shield network and seemed to bend, like light through water. Instead of breaking through, it curved away into space. On the Discovery's bridge, James could hear his crew cheering. The New Haven technology worked. Their energy redirection systems had taken the Dominion's most powerful weapon and turned it aside like it was nothing. All ships, attack pattern Alpha, James ordered. Earth vessels, forward advance. New Haven ships, prepare for flanking maneuvers. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination, Earth's larger ships pushing straight toward the enemy, while New Haven's faster vessels circled around the sides. The Dominion fleet seemed to pause, as if confused by what they were seeing. Their second volley of attacks was more scattered, less confident. The human ships' hybrid shields flickered with energy, but held strong. None of the Dominion's weapons could break through the combination of Earth's raw power and New Haven's elegant deflection technology. "They're scanning us," Dr. Tom reported from his station. "They're trying to figure out what we are. Their systems can't make sense of our combined technology." He looked up with a grin. They'd never seen anything like this before. The human fleet struck back. Earth's ships fired their modified weapons, void-enhanced energy beams cutting through space. At the same time, New Haven's vessels unleashed their new hybrid weapons, combining their space-bending technology with Earth's targeting systems. The first Dominion ship's shields failed under the assault, and its massive hull cracked like an egg. "Their shields are calibrated for standard energy weapons," Lisa called out from engineering. "They can't adapt to our void-enhanced beams. We're hitting them with something completely new." The Dominion fleet broke formation, trying to surround the human ships. But this was exactly what they had planned for. New Haven's vessels, smaller and more agile, darted between the massive alien ships, their hybrid weapons striking from unexpected angles. Earth's larger ships pressed the attack head-on, their combined shields shrugging off everything the Dominion threw at them. "Look at their formation," Lieutenant Rose said, pointing at the tactical display. "They're used to fighting enemies that either run away or attack head-on. They don't know how to handle two different combat styles at once." The battle spread across the star system. The Dominion's capital ships, each one big enough to hold a city, found themselves unable to track the faster New Haven vessels. When they turned to deal with the harassment, Earth's ships would hit them with concentrated fire. When they tried to focus on Earth's fleet, New Haven's ships would strike their exposed flanks. "We're not just two different civilizations fighting together," James realized as he watched the battle unfold. "We're showing them why humanity is different. We adapt, we combine, we create new solutions. They've spent thousands of years perfecting one way of fighting, but we can change our tactics in the middle of a battle." The turning point came when 3 New Haven ships led a Dominion vessel into an asteroid field. The alien ship, too big and slow to maneuver properly, took heavy damage. As it tried to retreat, 2 Earth vessels caught it in a crossfire of hybrid weapons. The massive ship exploded in a flash that lit up the entire battlefield. Seeing one of their supposedly invincible capital ships destroyed, something changed in the Dominion's tactics. Their formation became more defensive, less certain. For the first time in perhaps thousands of years, the mighty Dominion fleet faced an enemy they couldn't easily crush. "They're starting to pull back." Anne's voice came through the command channel. "But we can't let them escape. If they retreat, they'll come back with an even bigger fleet." James nodded, even though she couldn't see him. "Agreed. All ships, prepare for final attack pattern. It's time to show the Dominion that humanity is here to stay." The combined human fleet moved forward as one, ready to make their mark on galactic history. The Dominion fleet's retreat turned out to be a trap. As the human ships pressed their advantage, the alien vessels suddenly split into smaller groups, trying to surround them. The space around New Haven lit up with weapons fire as the battle entered its most dangerous phase. "They're targeting our communications," Mark shouted as another blast rocked the Discovery. "They're trying to split us up, break our coordination." Emergency lights flashed across the bridge as the ship's hybrid shields strained under the increased assault. James gripped his command chair as the ship shook. Switch to backup channels. New Haven showed us how to use their crystal tech for short-range communications. The Dominion can't block those. His crew worked quickly, switching to the new systems. Within moments, the fleet's coordination restored. On the tactical display, James watched as 3 Dominion ships cornered one of New Haven's vessels. But before they could destroy it, the colonial ship did something impossible. It seemed to fold space itself, disappearing from between the enemy ships and reappearing behind them. The New Haven vessel's hybrid weapons tore into the confused Dominion ships' exposed reactor sections. How did they do that? Lieutenant Rose asked, amazed. Lisa, who was helping on the bridge, grinned proudly. Something we developed just yesterday, she explained. We combined your emergency transport systems with our void technology. Short-range space folding. Only works once per ship, uses too much power, but they didn't expect it. The battle spread across the entire star system. Earth ships used their raw power to punch holes in the Dominion formation, while New Haven's vessels slipped through these gaps, striking vital systems with surgical precision. The hybrid weapons were proving devastatingly effective. The Dominion's shields couldn't adapt to the combined technology. But the aliens weren't finished yet. Their remaining ships began to gather together, forming a tight circle. Energy readings from their combined weapons reached levels that made the sensors scream in warning. They're going to fire everything at once, Dr. Tom reported, his face pale as he read the energy signatures. If that hits us, even our hybrid shields won't hold. James opened a channel to Commander Ann's ship. We need a solution fast. They're getting desperate. They'll destroy everything rather than lose. I have an idea. Anne's voice came back, calm despite the chaos. But it's crazy. Remember how your engineer Mark said our void crystals could theoretically absorb energy? What if we used our entire crystal computer network as one big energy sink? Dr. Tom's eyes widened. The crystals would have to be perfectly synchronized. One mistake, and they'd shatter, taking half the system with them. But it could work. James looked at his crew, saw the determination in their eyes. Every human in the fleet, whether from Earth or New Haven, had fought too hard to give up now. Do it, he ordered. Tell all ships to divert power to their crystal systems. We'll give them something to shoot at. The human fleet formed a new formation, with Earth's ships creating a wall of shields while New Haven's vessels linked their crystal networks together. The Dominion ships fired their combined weapon, a beam of energy so powerful it looked like a new sun being born. At the last second, the human fleet's linked crystal network activated. The massive energy beam struck their shields and seemed to pause, like water hitting a drain. The void crystals glowed brighter and brighter as they absorbed the impossible amount of power. Crystal network at 80% capacity. Lisa shouted, 90%, 95%. The ship groaned as the energy flowed through their systems. 100%. We need to release it now. All ships, fire everything. James and Anne ordered together. Every human vessel released the absorbed energy through their hybrid weapons, combined with their own power. The resulting blast was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Dominion ships never had a chance. Their formation broke apart as the combined power of their own weapon and the human fleet's technology tore through their defenses. Ships began exploding one after another, like a chain of dying stars. In the aftermath, as the light of the explosions faded, the human fleet hung victorious in space. They had done the impossible, faced down the galaxy's greatest threat and won. But more importantly, they had done it together, proving that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or shields, but in their ability to adapt, combine, and work together. 3 days after the battle, the crews of both fleets gathered in New Haven's Great Hall to celebrate their victory. The massive room was filled with the sound of humans from 2 different civilizations, laughing, sharing stories, and planning for the future. Through the hall's crystal windows, they could see workers already using salvaged Dominion technology to build new ships. Vessels that would combine the best of Earth, New Haven, and their defeated enemies' tech. James stood with Commander Ann on a balcony overlooking the celebration. "Hard to believe it was just a week ago that we first detected your signals," he said, holding a drink that glowed softly with New Haven's signature bioluminescent additives. "Feels like everything has changed since then." "Everything has changed," Anne replied, watching as Dr. Tom excitedly showed a group of colonial scientists some new discovery he'd made while studying the Dominion wreckage. "The galaxy's biggest bullies just learned that humanity isn't to be underestimated. But more importantly, we found each other." Down in the hall, Mark and Lisa were already drawing up plans for a new type of ship engine, combining Earth's raw power with New Haven's elegant energy manipulation. Their excited voices carried up to the balcony as they argued good-naturedly about power ratios and crystal configurations. "We found records in the Dominion ships," Lieutenant Rose said, joining them on the balcony. "Star charts, travel logs, communications records. There are signs of other lost human colonies out there. Ships that got lost like the Hope's Journey, finding their own paths among the stars." James looked out at the night sky visible through the crystal dome above the hall. Somewhere out there, other branches of humanity were developing in their own unique ways, facing their own challenges, finding their own solutions. "We should find them," he said, "not to control them or force them to rejoin Earth, but to give them the same choice you had, to stand together as equals." "The Dominion won't be gone forever," Anne agreed. "They'll have other fleets, other bases. They'll be back, probably with new weapons designed to counter what we use today. But next time," she smiled, "next time we'll be ready. And maybe we'll have even more lost colonies standing with us." In the center of the hall, a group of children from New Haven were listening wide-eyed as Earth's crew told them stories about their homeworld. The children had grown up hearing tales about Earth, passed down through generations, but now they were hearing fresh accounts of the planet their ancestors had left behind. Their questions came fast and excited, and the Earth crew answered with equal enthusiasm. "We should establish a permanent connection between Earth and New Haven," James suggested. "Regular ships, cultural exchanges, scientific cooperation. Both our civilizations took different paths, developed different strengths. Together, we're stronger than either of us alone." "Agreed," Anne said. "And we need to prepare. The galaxy's about to learn that humanity isn't just one civilization rising among the stars. We're many, all growing in our own ways, all ready to stand together when needed." As if to emphasize her point, a cheer went up from the crowd below. Someone had managed to combine Earth's holographic technology with New Haven's crystal displays, creating a stunning three-dimensional map of known space floating above the celebration. It showed Earth, New Haven, and dozens of possible locations where other human colonies might be found. "First, though," James said, "we should help you rebuild. That battle damaged a lot of your orbital facilities." Anne laughed. "Already thinking like a unified people, aren't you? Don't worry, our construction methods are a lot faster than Earth's. Especially now that we can combine our technologies. By the time the next Dominion fleet arrives, they won't recognize this system." The celebration continued late into the night. Humans from Earth and New Haven traded stories, shared dreams, and made plans for a future that suddenly seemed much brighter and more interesting than anyone had imagined just a week ago. They had faced humanity's greatest challenge yet, and emerged victorious not through overwhelming force, but through their greatest strength, the ability to adapt, to learn from each other, and to stand together as one people, no matter how far the stars had scattered them. Above them, through the crystal dome, the galaxy spread out like an endless sea of possibilities. Somewhere out there, other lost children of Earth were waiting to be found. And when they were found, they would discover they were not alone among the stars. They were part of a family that stretched across the galaxy, ready to face any challenge together.